New, glorious new. I'm anxious to try it. Blues. So many blues. Really, who's going to defy it, right? This article is a very interesting read on how LSS sort of believe new is best run, and I'm curious where it will end up landing. But anyway, hey, I'm Klloo. So, the collection box, or at least the card gallery for the collection box, is out. So we have a ton of cards that we can go through for each of the three heroes, which is fantastic. So we'll just take them one by one, right? So we'll start with new, obviously. And I do want to read through the Blitz deck tutorial and LSS's little tidbits. But with new, right, one of the big oversights I believe they have, right? It's they want you to include an unnecessary step, right? Which is play the normal assassin game plan, get blues from your opponent, and then utilize the huge, unbelievable ton of just blue synergy that these three classes have access to. And why wait for a variable is my question, right? Why plan, okay, we have a average game plan / weaker than average game plan running the normal assassin stuffs. We might get some blues, we care to play, and then we find our chi, and then we get to use our opponent's blues to win the game. Yeah, that doesn't sound consistent. That sounds like a big ask. So, again, I don't think it's the correct way. I'm probably a bit overboard just because it seems super fun what you have access to and what you're capable of doing with new and what cards are being showcased. But, right, new wins by slowly chipping away at your opponent's life and deck, then finishing them off with their own cards. Skip a step. You might get some value off their cards, sure. But there is just so much going for these three heroes, right? LSS has picked three heroes that do phenomenal with such a low cost basis, and they've given them huge incentive to run so much blue. So I do think there are better things you can do with new than what new is starting with, right? But anyway, let's look through the cards. We'll come back, we'll read some little tidbits. But we have new and we have Beckoning Mistveil, and this is just the deal breaker for me, right? So Beckoning Mistveil, once per turn, pay 2. Attack, go again. When this hits the next blue attack, this turn gets +1 and go again. So straight away, this is a 2 freebies with flick knives to give your next blue attack go again. Again, huge incentive to play blue because it's not any attack, it's just blue, which again seems fairly balanced. You gotta take the 2 attack down, right? Running blue copies instead of any other color. But there are just so many other ways to prop them back up that I don't think a -2 to your average damage is enough to really care. So Beckoning Mistveil is just insane, right? We thought it was fake for a little bit, otherwise I would have been praising new and going on about how this is the new Melody, right? Melody seems like the testing ground to see where the basis was, what they had to do to tweak the final act combo to make it playable, but not just broken. And I don't think they've done just that. I think it's still going to be fairly decent. Not so much in class constructed. It's a huge amount of damage in class constructed. But for Blitz, at very least, she's already a significantly more consistent Melody, right? Final act combo. So we have Aqua Scene Shell with this new cloaked mechanic. So they start face down, which is a fun, cool concept. Great for limited. For an actual event, right? There's never, in my opinion, going to be enough equipment or enough viable equipment, that's probably the better way to put it, where this matters, right? Where your opponent not having the knowledge of what you have matters, because in reality, right, the way for them to really take this is with more cards that apply, minuses or destroy equipment, right? But other than that, there will never be, best in slots that you've got 3 different choices, and having it face down then matters. For limited though, insane amount of fun. But the idea is, for instance, with the Cloak Seeing Shell, you can use its effects, turn this face up, draw a card, and then for that whole turn, your opponent's whole turn, if you use it on your opponent's turn, right, you can block over and over again as long as they break the chain. I feel like that's a cool idea. We already know the value of not breaking the chain right? So if you're a deck that, again, is trying to do a bunch of attacks, you're generally not going to break the chain. So I think tempo with a higher value could have just been what they were going for, right? More consistent. But yeah, you know, one over and over again could be fun. It's probably just going to be one block. Now these cards, all three have them, and it's weird to me. So when this is equipped face down, again, cloaked, start your turn. If you have exactly 1 life, right, you may turn this face up. Now, yes, 1 life is definitely a game state, but is it a reliable game state? I don't think so. I think a threshold could have benefited these cards a little bit better, but if you do have that 1 life, you are able to destroy it, search your deck for inner chi, reveal, and put it in your hand. So that's pretty good as well, right? It's a +1 to your hand size with a just blue pitchable, right? That then triggers a lot of other effects. So, you know, that's decent, but yeah, the 1 life is interesting. Now, Arousing Wave, I don't care for this too much, right? It's just your generic common. So pay 1, destroy this, create a Fang Strike. Fang Strike, we'll probably scroll down so we can see them first. So Fang Strike, 0, ephemeral, target attack action gets +1. Cool. There's better gloves for that, right? Than just a +1 that you also have to pay for. It does have Battle Worn, so that is nice, but overall, I'm a bit disappointed about Fang Strike. I wish it was an attack that, you know, led to something, right? Crouching Tiger is this whole buffing sequence, but Fang Strike could have been, you know, something fun with poison counters, frailty even, just something slightly more interesting than just a +1. Slither, on the other hand, Slither is fantastic. Slither is bonkers. Again, Slither lends itself to just play blues or just play incredibly high value cards rather than just small. I mean, they're not tiny, right, at 3, but generally speaking, assassin cards are, you know, small because they have decent value. Undertow Stilettos, so similar, but attack reaction, pay 1, destroy this, create a Slither. Again, Slither compared to Fang Strike makes this incredibly more worthwhile, right? It is the first boot that is a almost blanket go again to any attack, because again, Slither is any attack. Target attack action, this card gets go again. You can play it straight away, right? So you can use the stilettos as the attack reaction, obviously destroy them, and then play the Slither, right? That is a thing. So it is basically just either this attack gets go again, save it. They don't, you know, leave your hand. They do affect intellect, that's fine, but it's just a super powerful card. A 0 cost, give an attack, go again. Fantastic. Now, into the actual assassin cards. So we have, instead of contract, and I think this is a miss. I feel like, I know with stealth would have been crazy, but I feel like they could have benefited from contract. But instead of contract, you know, silver, it was this clause of gaining a life, right? Because that's the running trend for all of them, is just if you banish the correct card, you get 1 life. I also don't think 1 life is enough. In Blitz, it's painfully slow, right? 1 life is not gonna really make a difference if you're playing, you know, 3 cards a turn. It's good, don't get me wrong, it's really good, but I do think it was slightly higher. And in Class Constructed, you will get the value out of it. But again, for your overall game plan, I feel like there are just significantly better cards. Even running the normal assassin shtick of getting silver tokens, I do think, especially in what Nu is doing in blue, it is better than 1 life. So, I mean, the body, because it has this draw clause as well, is good, but all the others, if they target the graveyard and the hand, sure. But again, Nu, the game plan for Nu is you want your opponent to play blues, right? And you want them to be value blues that you can play. They've given plethoras of go again so that you don't have to worry about what they are, and generally everything is playable and nothing feels bad. But again, you have to hit those blues, they have to get in the graveyard, you have to then get your chi and then play them, right? I'd rather take all the blue synergy that Nu has and put it in a consistent deck that uses it for itself, rather than, you know, again, trying to have this, albeit fun, mechanic of destroying my opponent's deck and then hoping they have all the cards to kill themselves, basically. Right? Future me, just to interject, because again, it's one of those things where in my head, I've got the reasoning down, but I haven't explained it too well. So yes, I know Nu is stealth, right? So whenever your attacks with stealth are blocked, you banish all action cards defending it, which is strong. But again, you got to think of the rationale, right? I can take blue synergy through contract, again, just having silver to cycle and find the exact cards I want to play, versus the chance of my opponent A, blocking with the blue that I want to play, B, running the blue to block that I want to play with, right? And then again, counting that as their value block, right? Instead of blocking with something else, keeping their blue to pitch and play. So it's a big ask to me, right? Yes, they've given lots of ways to hit blue cards, but again, why take the chance in a game like Flesh and Blood when consistently you can take all the blue synergy and run a stronger, more cohesive deck using all the tools they've given? Because none of these are, the next blue attack or blue action or blue whatever that you play from your opponent's banish zone. They're all just blanket. If you played a blue, if you pitched blue, the next blue, right? So again, why not just take all that consistency, put it in your own deck, rather than trying to rely on these abilities, which again, fun, flavorful, right? Nicely balanced, but rely on your opponent having the control and having the interaction, right? Could you force them to block with their entire hand? Sure, but at that point, it's win more, and it's not necessary. So, Arm and Desire Body, when this hits, banish top card of the deck, red, draw a card, gain 1 life. So, again, I think if they were all sort of balanced like this, I'd be more inclined to take the lesser colors, but there's just so much blue synergy, and we'll get to that in a second. Bonds of Memory, banish card, it is, and then if it has, there, let's try again. Bonds of Memory, I forgot this clause, right? So when this hits, banish top card of their deck, then banish a card from their graveyard. Whenever this banished card, if this has banished another card with the same name, so again, if both of them hit the same card, so obviously you get the top card, and then you want to pick from their graveyard either a pick that really benefits new, or the same card to get that 1 life. Getting the 1 life, again, not, in my opinion, it's good. It is impactful, but it's not a deal breaker. I would almost rather always select a card that benefits New's ability. With Bonds of Memory, Desires the Flesh, we are looking for an attack action, gain 1 life, right? There's just the blankets, assassin, banish, contract type cards, just with 1 life. So we've got the attack, we've got the reaction, we have the non-attack, and we have red. I don't think we have a blue and a yellow though, right? But they'll probably be in the woodworks. They'll just be common fillers. Double Trouble. So if you played or activate 2 or more attack reactions as Chain Link, this gets +2, and when this hits hero, banish the top 2 cards of their deck. So straight away, Double Trouble plus the Stilettos plus the Go Again is a 5, right? With Go Again, that gives you +2. You could also go the other way with the Rousing Wave to get the +1. So Double Trouble is definitely a nice card, right? Since all the Go Agains are kind of tied to attack reactions. So Double Trouble, it's a pretty decent rare, I think, right? Mind's Desire, again, non-attack, instant, or reaction. That's a first, I think, right? Seeing reaction and instant tied together. I believe the other assassins are just reactions. I might be wrong on that. But yeah, altogether, the main, bread and butter of their attacks is okay, but it's not for me. We'll put it that way. All right. Yes, target assassin or mystic attack action gets +3. If you pitch a blue this turn, create a slither. Again, this is where the blue synergy really just shines. So if you've pitched a blue card this turn, create a slither, right? So then have another free reaction to give Go Again. Beautiful. And there's just a lot more blue cards. So if you play another blue card, this gets +2. There's just a blanket. I think they go up by 2 damage and 1 cost every time, but they're all, if you play another blue, gain extra attack, and they just work so well with Slither. So yeah, again, I'm all for just blue instead of what's going on. Venomous Bites. Target assassin or mystic attack action gets +3. If you pitched blue, create a Fang Strike, right? Bonds of Attraction. So are we just going back through the colors? No, Bonds of Attraction is new. When it sits, banish top card of the deck, the match card from the graveyard. If it banishes, again, the same sort of name, gain 1 life. Oh, that's curious. So they are repeats, but they have changed what they're called, just to give them a bit more flavor, it looks like. So Bonds of Memory, Bonds of Attraction. There's no yellow, interestingly. Nope, we still have Bonds of Memory. Right, what's different? When this hits, banish top card of the deck and banish card from the graveyard. Whenever this banishes a card, if this banished another card with the same name. No, because I'm misreading. It is same color, not same name, so it's a bit more open-ended. But that's probably the closest 2 cards, in my opinion, have come to being just blanket copies of one another, because there's not even a stat difference or cost to it. Curious. But then we get Deep Blue Sea, the new Final Act. This gets +1 for each blue card you have pitched this turn. So instead of 2, like Final Act, it's +1. You then add a Wide Blue Yonder to it, and it's the same as Final Act with a, heftier base. It's also blue, right? The 4 cost is forgivable. And then it's just wonderfully beautiful art, right? It's so gorgeous. But yeah, so this is their idea of fixing Final Act so it's not broken, and again, running all blues, having easy ways to give it go again, I'm going to say it's pretty doable, right? So a 4 for 5, and then if you've pitch stacked, it can be quite big. Add in 2 wide blue yonders, and it can be even bigger, right? It can technically be bigger than Final Act because this plus 2 wide blue yonders is 3 times the pitch stack rather than 2 times, but the downside is it no longer counts the opponents, right? Because it's blue cards you have pitched this turn. But overall, right, we don't really count on Final Act relying on the opponent's pitch zone, and then Deep Blue Sea into Deep Blue Sea, right? You can super buff or supercharge the first one to make sure it lands, exhaust everything, and then throw the other one out, right? And again, a 4 cost I think is highly manageable, thanks to Chi and everything else going for it. Zones of the Flesh, right? Banish attack action, same. Gravekeeper, now this is a nice card. When this attacks rather than hits, you may banish a card from their graveyard. So this is definitely a staple of new, right? 1 cost, find whatever card you want, and that way you have something set up. I think they could have done with a little bit more, right? Even if they weren't banished the top card, if it was always banished the graveyard, that would kind of be a little bit better. But then it does rely on your opponent playing the blues when, in most cases, right, you pitch blues early game and then you wait till late game. But yeah, I definitely have more value for the cards that double hits and hit the graveyard. Impulsive Desire, reaction on instant, Mind Sign, no attacks, we've seen them. Rising Tide, we already ran over it. Hiss, it's now blue. Tide Chakra, so again, if you've transcended, right, or, you know, play the blue, get +3 instead of +1, so nice. Then we have only 2 transcend cards in the Blitz deck, which is interesting, right, and these can only be 1-ofs, I'd assume, because this does count as a constructed deck, yeah, right, and then Fang Strike and Slither, which we already went over. Altogether, it is a cool mechanic, altogether, right? All 3 of them are fairly insane, in all honesty. But I think LSS have sort of sold it short on just how much blue synergy there is. So all right, let's read the tidbits, right? So new holds are cards close to a chest, attacking the opponent with stealth cards and adding on additional effects such as damage or go again. Your reaction step after the opponent has defended. Stealth doesn't mean anything by itself, but has different uses. So new ability causes your opponent's action cards to be banished instead of going to the graveyard when they finish defending her stealth attacks. Many of new attack cards also banish cards from your opponent's graveyard and or deck. When they hit, gaining life if bad cards meet certain criteria, right? New makes it difficult for opponents to defend correctly with sneaky attack reactions. After opponents defend your attacks, you can enter the reaction set by to play attack reactions, right? Normal get up. Remember that you don't have to always play these immediately. You can save them in your arsenal for a later turn. What was I reading? Oh, right, the token generation, yeah. So they're ephemeral cards. You can stash them, right? Which is also nice because it means you feel a bit more confident about playing your whole hand, reacting, getting one of these, and then saving it for the next turn to again string stuff together. Just a blanket target attack action gets go again. God, I feel like this should have been a 1 cost, in all honesty. Right, then we get Transcend. We've already gone over the mechanic, bonkers in itself. Arm to the teeth, flip mechanics. Now, how to win, right? So again, chipping away and then waiting till your opponent's deck is at a point where you can use it to destroy them. Again, I'd rather skip the step and take all the blue synergy and run so many high value cards, right? So this is the Melody combo-esque deck, basically, right? It's very similar to Melody, but you have significantly greater draw. You have a lot of great cards. I mean, look at this. First hand of Chi Moon. The next blue attack, again, blue synergy, gets draw a card, right? When it attacks, not when it hits, draw a card. So that is already a fantastic 0 cost action that replaces itself when you attack, right? You then have, again, the plethora of go again. Flick Knives off Mistveil is just another blue go again. Even if this isn't what you run, I do feel like new is going to end up closer, just all blues and taking the value, which is Surgical Extraction. I mean, if we look specifically at Assassin Blues, what do we have that, you know, is fantastic? Surgical Extraction. What else? Not that many, now that I'm actually looking at it. But still, enough for me, personally, to be pretty happy with it, right? Is there anything else that stands out? Payday, I don't think you'd really make use of. No. Oh, that's fine. What about just blues in general? So, again, you're taking, you know, a -2 to their damage, but it just fits with the blue schematics, and you never have to really worry about cost. It will end up somewhere in between, I think, but yeah, It's 3 heroes with a, you know, normally insane cost basis. All 3 can do a lot of things for very minimal, you know, card loss. And now just more incentive to play blue, right? So again, you've got all the Transcend cards, so making sure they never miss, I think, is also worthwhile. Then you have, again, Deep Blue Sea, Wide Blue Yonder, right? +1 for each blue card you pitch. Fantastic. You then have the Tenants. Again, you want to use Chi for that. You have cards like the First Tenant, right? Draw a card. There are some other Tenant cards, but I think they're mainly buffs overall. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna play Melody with Nu. That's my goal, and not really care about the stealth or the, you know, pay 3. But even just Contract, and again having that blue basis to always be able to cycle and look for something better, I think is worthwhile in itself. Again, play a Transcend card, get a Chi, pop the silver, look for whatever you're doing on your turn without actually losing cards. It's bonkers, the blue basis. So yeah, I'm more curious than anything just where Nu is going to land, right? What the community thinks versus what LSS is thinking. But we'll leave it there for Nu. Hope you enjoyed. So yeah.